Now, no more free talk. Let's get people paid, okay?
Exactly.
Let's get them paid, all right?
Those beers don't pay for themselves.
All right, welcome to another episode of Game Day Glare. I'm Lance, and there's my boy E. How you doing, E?
Good, yourself?
Very good, very good. Now, today's topic. It's a big one. You ready, guys? Setting your rates. How to charge clients and get some money, which is honestly probably one of the hardest things.
True.
Is talking to clients about what you're charging, the reason why you're charging, because not everybody understands. So we thought
probably
this was
the scariest part. Yeah. Because when you're starting, you're just getting better and then you're getting a bit confident, but making that transition from making cool videos to getting paid to make videos, that can be very scary because you don't want to disappoint and you don't want to be, you don't know what to charge. And yeah, it's an awkward conversation if you've never had it before.
Exactly. And this is a question on your YouTube channel, E, that you get asked a lot.
True.
Right. So it seems to be a common thing with videographers. And you know what? When you start getting paid, it's real. It's like all of a sudden this is a job now. When you're filming stuff for fun and you're learning, you can make mistakes. You have a little bit less stress, and all of a sudden, boom, you're getting paid for this. You're like, okay. You're stressing about, hey, I don't want to miss any shots. I want to have a good edit. I want my client to be happy. But when you're not getting paid, you don't really have those restrictions. You kind of just could get the best shots, edit it the way you want, and all of a sudden now that's all changed.
So when did you have that moment when you were sort of doing stuff for free and then eventually you started getting money for sports, or did you just go straight from school to being an employee or something?
Yeah, so I was actually pretty lucky. I was in school when I got hired by the Montreal Expos. So, I mean, not everybody has that chance. So I was extremely lucky. And the only thing, though, is they set the salary, right?
Yeah.
So I came in, I was supposed to be a replacement cameraman. I ended up being a full-time cameraman. So 82 games, I had an hourly rate with that contract. Because baseball, as you know, you can have a 2-hour game, you can have a 5-hour game. The longest game I did was 17 innings. And the fastest game I ever did was 9 innings, but it was 2 hours and 5 minutes. So that was kind of cool. But you were paid hourly back then, and you had like a minimum. So you had like a minimum of a 4 or 5 hour call time, and you got paid minimum that. And if you went over, you got paid more. I do recall, though, actually, when I was in the process of going to university in communications, I did a couple minor football videos for their end of year videos and stuff like that. And these were young kids, maybe 7 to 10 years old. And it was like parents' footage and still photography. So I did that. And I remember I was exporting all the videos on DVD so all the kids can have their own DVD. And I remember charging for that. And that was tough because I didn't know if I should just charge for the project or if I should charge for the hours it was going to take me. And I went with the hours it was going to take me because I was inexperienced. So I didn't know how long it would take. It wasn't so much how long it was going to take to make the video. It was, I got to burn all these DVDs now. There's like 25 kids on a team, and I got to go buy DVDs. And then you got to, you want your money back from that. So that was definitely a cool learning curve, to see. And I probably ended up breaking even.
So when you say paid by the hour, were you literally charging hourly, or were you just making the math and saying, because I'm going to put, okay.
Yeah, I charged them hourly. So I gave them an hourly rate. Like I charge, I don't know, $25 an hour back then, or $20 an hour. And it took me, I don't know, say 15 hours or something. So then that was my bill. And that was a good experience to see, first of all, how long does it, as the more you get used to this stuff, right? You kind of judge how long a project's going to take you. And then depending on your client, you could bill hourly, you can bill for the event, you could bill for the project. But that comes with experience. And back then I didn't have that experience. So I went the safe route and I billed hourly. And, I mean, I think it turned out okay. I don't know. That was a long time ago. So I don't remember.
Did they hire you again? Or?
Yeah, I did. I did it for like 2 or 3 years, years. And yeah, so it was okay. What about you? What about you? One of your first experiences?
Good question. I think, well, my first experiences dealing with clients didn't really have anything to do with sports. And I don't think I made much money. I think my first ever job, like just by myself, like getting a contract was like it was like a community center, and there was like this fashion show, I think, that they were doing. And then I was filming that and editing it. And I think I didn't have any equipment back then. So I bought like a secondhand VHS camera at the time. And, so, that's telling about my age, but, and that camera lasted, I want to say half of that, fashion show. I think we shot, it was me and, a buddy that you know as well, Francois. And, yeah, it was like 2 camera shoot. And like one camera I borrowed from someone that we were working with at the time. And the other camera I bought like $100 or maybe 150. And it died like midway through the thing, and had to finish it with one camera and, put the whole edit together. But like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that by the time I paid Frank and the camera, there wasn't much money left for me. But, yeah, that was my first experience. But in sports, I don't know. I think it came in probably a lot later. And by then I was more experienced and able to charge properly and, be confident. But even then, like, it's always a bit scary. Like for me, for example, moving to Australia, new market, knew everything really, even the sports that I was filming. I never worked in soccer or rugby or cricket or any of that stuff before I moved over there. I'd never even been to a soccer game, like a professional one. No, I think I went to one MLS game. I was pretty drunk, so I'm not sure it counts.
It doesn't count. No, it doesn't count.
It was my bachelor party, so I don't think it counts. But yeah, so all that was brand new to me. So when it comes to charging, because to make a long story short, I had a first job, like an actual job in like TV. It was sports related, but it was still television. I was a producer. And when that died, that's when I started my own business, where I would become sort of an agency to charge, to basically, I saw a market where there's a lot of sports in Australia, especially in Melbourne, where I was. And I would basically be an agency, like a production company, but just exclusively for sports teams, but also leagues and promoters and things like that. And yeah, it was kind of weird charging people at the beginning, especially that the type of products that I was offering, they weren't really putting any. It's not like there was a budget, like there wasn't a social media budget back then. It was kind of new. We're talking like 2012. So they didn't really know how much money they would be willing to put into that. So these conversations were really, most of the ones who agreed to meet me, the meeting would end with, this is awesome. Love your stuff. Love your ideas. Love your concepts. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to convince my boss to put any money in that. And, yeah, eventually, because I was more geared towards social media. So once I realized that the big screen up there was the way to get to them, like, it sort of changed things around a bit. But all that to say that, like everyone else, at the beginning, it's, trial and error and trying to figure out I would say the most important thing, before everything else, like you need to understand your value. And most of all, you need to understand like the needs of your clients. Like what are they actually after? What do they need? And you're going to say they need videos, but like more than that, like what are the videos for? What are they trying to get out of them? And that's going to give you a better idea of what you need to supply and what you need to tell them to for them to trust you and say, oh yeah, he's or she is the person that's going to get us where we want to go. Cause, you know, they understand, they see what we want, what we need, and they're going to help us along that way. Because 9 times out of 10, the person that you're trying to sell a video to doesn't know anything about video. So you're not going to impress them by talking about your 4K camera or your Premiere Pro or all these things. Like, they just want to know how that video is going to have an impact on their fans or on their social media or their ticket sales, depending on the level and stuff. So it's understanding like their fears, their concerns, their goals, all that stuff, and then offering them a solution that's going to make them confident to think that you're the person that's going to take them there, basically.
No, exactly. And you could be great at your job, but selling yourself is hard. Like, you know, your work could be top notch, but if you don't know how to sell yourself or get your message across to them and tell them that, like, hey, I'm going to fulfill those needs and I'm here to make the videos that you guys are looking for, then you're not going to get that job. And that's something that, you know, we're not taught when we learn Premiere Pro or color correction or DaVinci Resolve. Selling yourself takes time. So when you're pitching people in that, don't be upset if they say no, and don't burn that bridge, because later on in life they might come back. And it has happened to me. I don't know if it's happened to you, but it's definitely happened to me. But selling yourself is tough. So when you do have that meeting with a team and you listen to what they need, listen to their, even though you have some great ideas and you're like, you know, like you said, you were pushing social media. But then once you listen to them, you realize, okay, they don't need social media. They need this. And every team is going to be different. So the first meeting you have with them, don't talk much. Just listen to them and they'll tell you in some way or another what they are looking for. And that's the only way you're going to be able to get the job, is if they say yes. So listen to what their needs are, and then you can make your offer. And it's tough. It's tough. And you know what? Sometimes you could be the better person for the job or for the video, and they just say no. And it could be simply that someone else sold themselves a little better than you.
Yeah, true. Relationships also a big deal, a big thing. So sometimes it's just they've got a better connection with someone else, even though you're the better person for the job. That connection is probably going to beat the talent, 3 times out of 5, I say.
Exactly. And, you know, we see some sports teams and we can go from pro to minor league teams and that. And sometimes it depends too on how they spend their budget. Like, just because a team should have money, it doesn't mean that they're putting their money into their video services.
Yeah, exactly.
So sometimes you got to worry about that too. Like, what's their budgeting? What are they actually willing to spend on? Because not all clubs are thinking like, I'm going to pay a lot for a video.
Yeah.
Now,
just
sometimes
because they're spending a lot on players doesn't mean they're spending the same on video.
Exactly. But then you're stuck with that. Like, do I go for them and I'm not going to make as much money, but I want the experience, I want the footage? Or that's a tough part too, especially in pro sports, because pro sports is kind of, there's this attitude sometimes with some teams, not every team, that you should be happy to work here.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case. Pardon?
You're one of the lucky ones. You know, if you're not happy, there's 1,000 people waiting that would kill to get your spot. So, yeah.
But see, the thing is, if you bring value to them and you're really good at your job, you don't have to worry about that. That's what I've realized. I've seen tons of people come and go throughout my videography career. And the ones that come in and they're ready from day one and they're very good at what they do, they stick around. And the guys that aren't, who come in for a quick buck or see like, oh, I'm working for a pro team, I'm going to make a lot of money. If that's your focus and your focus isn't on good quality videos, then you're not going to last. And it's tough. It is tough because it is a business and you're doing this to make a living, ideally, right? So you got to make tough decisions too. Sometimes it's not worth it to work for the big club where they're not willing to pay you right away. Eventually, yes, you'll get there, but you have to be there for a couple of years to finally move up. or you're better off to work for someone else where you can kind of control and have a little more freedom and maybe make the same amount of money right away. And that depends. That's a personal choice. It's a personal choice for sure.
Well, for me, I think first of all, it's a full-time job or you're going after clients and contracts and stuff, probably applies more to clients. But like what I was going to say is you shouldn't be afraid to charge what you think you're worth. And I know it sounds like, yeah, it's easy to say, but harder to do. But I think being turned down by a client for money, that's not really a no. That's just not right now. If they were willing to hire you and just don't have the money to do it, that means they still want to hire you, just not right now because they don't have the money. But if they were to turn you down because they didn't like your work, that is a definite no. Like, you're never working for these people ever. So the money thing, even if you do charge first of all, if you charge too much and they really like what you do, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, look, our budget is X. Can you do this one at our price? And maybe can you meet us at halfway? Like, they're going to try to negotiate something. So it's not like a bigger number is just going to end the conversation. And second of all, like I said, if it is really too high and there's no way to meet at a price that makes everyone happy, that conversation is going to happen again in a month or in a year or whatever, when they really want to make when they've got a bigger project that they're willing to put a bit more money in it, and they because they really want it to be good, and they're like, oh yeah, let's try to put a bit more money in it so we can get that guy that we didn't get last time, so that we know it's going to be exactly how we want it, and then they'll get back to you. So at the end of the day, if you're good, don't stress. Don't be afraid to get what you're worth, basically.
Exactly. And you know what? I remember it also when I was younger, like when I got hired by the Expos, money was not my concern at all, which is kind of crazy. I was just so excited to be working for Major League Baseball and I'm filming games. But I was 22 years old. I didn't have a mortgage or a family. All I had was a car payment. So I wasn't worried about those kind of things. It depends on where you are in your life. So if you're young, and you can, get into a pro team, and even if the salary isn't what you think it should be right away, that's the time to take that chance. When you're older and you have more experience, that's when you have a little bit more leverage, and you come to the table with value, and you explain to them, listen, I've already worked on this project. I've already worked for this team. This is what I'm kind of expecting. Then you have some bargaining chips. But when you're young and you're just trying to get your foot in the door, you don't really have that many bargaining chips. And 9 out of 10 times, you're just going to be excited to be there, be in the atmosphere, be around players, and get those shots on your portfolio.
And I think bring up a good point about valuing your time and stuff. For me, my time is extremely important. It's probably a thing that I try to manage as best as I can, because it's much more important than money in a way. But for example, when I started trying to get clients in Australia, my time wasn't worth much. Well, not that it wasn't worth much, but I was willing to do a lot of work for a little amount of money, because I was in sort of brand awareness mode. All I wanted was a shot with different clubs, different teams, to the point where I even offered one video for free. And I'm not saying, oh yeah, I'm just going to do plenty of videos for free just for the exposure and things like that. It was I would approach a club and say, look, this is what I want to do for you guys. And I'm sure we could work together and it would be great. And you would be winning from it. And I'd be too with money. But just to prove, the proof is in the pudding, just to prove you how cool it can be. Because I can show you all these videos that I've done in Canada and stuff, but you can always see it as, oh yeah, obviously it's great because you've got all these international superstars in the videos, but with us, it's not going to be as cool. So let me do one for free. Let's do a little 30-40 second video, whatever you want. If you want to promote your next game, if you want to do a recap, if you want to sell a t-shirt, just let me know what you want, something you can actually use, and I'll do it for free. And I would do that video this exactly the way I would do it if I was getting paid. And from those videos, I got job after that. Like I didn't get like tons of work, but like some clubs, yes, some no. And obviously I was doing that with clubs that I knew had money. Like I wouldn't offer that to a club that I know is just saying yes because they've got no money and they're getting a free video out of it, but they're never going to be able to pay me anyway. So obviously you choose who you do that with, but that was my way to use all my free time that I have and trying to find clients and try to turn it into making money in the future. And then that made sense. But on the flip side of that, like what I see a lot of people doing, which I think is a mistake, is when they already have a full-time job and they do like sports videography kind of on the side, and they're filming like kids at let's say they've got their own kid is playing football or whatever, and they're filming at football games, and then they start charging people for videos, and but then they're charging not that much money because they're like, oh, it's just a hobby. I'm just happy to be making like $50 here, $100 there. But then they're actually okay, kind of good at it. So they've got like 3 or 4 people asking them for videos. So they spend their entire weekends editing all these videos. So now they've got no life. They're working, 40 hours a week and then spending the rest of the week like editing videos for $50. And it's like, you're not having any fun doing that and you're not even making money off of it. So like, if you're going to do this as a sideline, then just be smart with your time. Like it's better to do it for like 1 or 2 people and still have some free time left or at least charge enough so that, cause now people are hiring you cause it's cheap. And so it's like finding that balance and realizing that your time in the situation that you're in is either you've got tons of it, or you don't have that much and you need to value it accordingly. That makes sense.
For sure. And you brought up a good point. Doing one for free. I've done that too before in the past, where I saw a client who had videos and they were crap. And I knew that I could help this person. So I approached them. A cold called emailed them and said, listen, I'm willing to do one free video for you to show you how much better your videos can be. And I ended up getting work after that for a while, a couple of months. I did like social media for this person, and it was all because I did a free video. And the free video is honestly, it's to gain their trust, because like people watch your YouTube channel, and the people that have been watching your YouTube channel, the people that have been watching your YouTube channel for a long time, they trust you.
No.
But if I just logged on today and I saw you, I don't know you. I see one video, I'm like, oh, okay. But your channel is constantly building trust, constantly. If you're giving me good advice all the time, then I'm trusting you. So that's what kind of that all the branches is when you're doing a free video, because they don't know your work. Yes, I show them all these videos now, but they don't know. Do they really know that I filmed it? Do they really know that I edited it? There's no real way for them to know 100%. Mm-hmm. But now that I've gone, they've seen me at their event and I have a quick turnaround time, and I give them a video that they're happy with. Boom, instant trust, and you can get more work. And if for some reason you don't get work from them, they will show that video to other people, and you will have that video to share on your side too, to gain other people's trust. And I think it's important. And there's nothing wrong if you enjoy making videos and being a video editor, then doing one every now and then for free isn't the end of the world. I'm not suggesting doing it all the time, but if you're trying to attract new clients or get into a new niche, say if you never filmed a soccer game before, well, and you have someone is trying to hire you, or you're thinking of trying to approach them to run their school program or whatever, then that's a perfect time to give that free video and show them what you can do.
Yeah, because I think like people assume that like free video, you're getting exploited, and it's just the team is just like making you work for them for free, and you're just getting nothing out of it because they're just promising like exposure that never really comes. But like that's when like you have to be smart about it. Like you have to make sure that you're going in a way that even before you start it, that's going to benefit you. So like, of course, if it's like a local sort of thing, lower grade type thing, and it's just like, it's never going to really help your career because you've done this before and you're either at that level or higher. And they don't have any money, you know, they're never going to be able to pay you anyway. Probably not worth it. But if you're building your portfolio and it's a level that's kind of higher than that, anything you've done before, maybe semi-pro or pro, like, I'm not saying film an entire season for them, but filming a game or two can definitely help you build your portfolio, bring it to another level that it wasn't before. And from there, and like you said, maybe you've never done a certain sport, so you get the opportunity to get that in your portfolio and attract a whole new, network of clients potentially, because they're going to see that you're doing that, whether it's football or whatever it is. So in that sense, like, you got to make sure that it makes sense for you, that you're going to get something out of it that's not money, but it's still going to be very valuable for your business, for your career. And also, like, come in with a plan. Like, if a club say, oh yeah, can you film for us? And then it's sort of open, like what happens with the footage. And then they start like just peppering you with, oh, can you send us this and send us that? And can you edit a reel? And you're thinking, dude, I'm not even getting paid. And you're asking me like 3 times a week for videos, for this, for that. Like, don't get into that. Make sure from the start that, like, I'm going to go to the game, I'm going to film it all, and I'm going to either just give you, like, just bring a hard drive. I'll give you all my footage. You can do whatever you want with it. And then I keep a copy as well, and I do whatever I want with it. Or you guys can agree to a certain edit or whatever it is. But, like, make sure that you discussed this before. And then the free part is filming, and then this edit, and that's it. Like, there's no sort of gray area where they're constantly asking you for more work. So make sure it's clear and that you're getting something out of it. And if that's the case, then I still to this day do some free work, from time to time. If I think that it's going to help my career, or if it's going to get me access to a team or a league or a player that I want to talk to. And the way to get there is to go film for free for a couple hours. I'll definitely do it, but I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for me.
Exactly. Now, no more free talk. Let's get people paid, okay?
Exactly.
Let's get them paid, all right?
Those beers don't pay for themselves.
I can't show that. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So, listen, it's expensive, man, being a videographer. And people don't realize that. They don't realize the expenses that we put out to be a videographer. Like, you need gear. What else do you need? You need software, insurance, sometimes a car, gas, and then your time, right? So when you have a project, how are you calculating all those things into one E?
Yeah, it's a tricky part because there's subscriptions, there's a few things that we never really think about, and
there's sound effect packages,
exactly. Exactly, LUTs and t-shirts and all these things. But so it's hard. So, but I think, like, once you've done it for a while, like, obviously you're not buying a camera every year. Like, well, I'm sure some people do, but I don't. But to me, it's like valuing what I bring on the day, like, especially for a shoot. When it comes to, like, editing, I usually charge, like, per like half days and full days, which I do with filming as well. But, like, I tend to, at the end of the day, when I send an invoice, it covers the project. And in my expenses, it's mostly like trying to charge for my time, for my equipment, and my expenses in terms of, like, if I had to travel or pay for parking or whatever the case may be. So these are sort of the main 3 things. With the equipment, it's always hard to know exactly how much to charge. I tend to sort of look at, roughly what I'm bringing. Like, I'm not going to start looking at, okay, my monitor, my batteries, this and that, but, like, my camera, the big stuff, like the lenses and stuff, like, how much would it cost someone to rent this for the day? And I'm probably going to charge half of that. You know what I mean? Like, so that way it makes sense for them to hire. It's not like it would be cheaper for them to just rent the camera and do it themselves or something like that. Like, but so I take sort of that factors into my daily rate. And then it's valuing your time. Cause a lot of time, like, people want to, it's just a little thing. It's gonna, or it doesn't need to be that special. So they want like a cheaper rate, but you're like, yeah, but if I'm doing it cheaper for you, then I'm booked that day. And then I'm probably going to miss out on another gig that would pay me twice that. So I'm losing a lot of money by doing this. So that's the dilemma that a lot of clients don't really understand, because they just see it as a quick sort of thing. But that quick thing means I can't do anything else that day. So that's why you have to value, if you know that you can make a certain amount of time, a certain amount of money in a day, then you got to stick to that, because otherwise every time you devalue that offer, you're sort of, you're losing money. But to go back to, like, if you're just sort of starting out, like, maybe, like you said, we're moving away from free, but there's nothing wrong with, like, a first client. If they don't have that much money, or if you see that they're sort of on the fence or something like that, what I've done is saying, like, clearly these are my prices, but because this is the first time that we're working together, I'm willing to give you like a 25% discount or a 50% discount. But this is a discount. Like, these are not my prices. So it's clear. So that way you're getting that on the first video, but you're not getting it on the second one. Like, you know what I mean?
No,
it's all about being clear.
Yeah, actually, honestly, you have to have the communication open up right away. When I talk to clients, I tell them the gear's included, right? But renting a camera, just if you rent a Sony A7S III, say, that can go from anywhere from $250 to $400 for the day.
Yeah.
So you let your clients know that when I'm doing the shoot, I am including all the gear, so they know that's part of the bill. And like you said, I have a day rate, a full day, half day for one-offs. I do, if it's a longer project, I will do a quote for the project, and I'll break it down for the client. And what else I've done too, if I'm working with someone a little longer, I'll give them a discount if we go on a retainer base.
All right.
So say if
I've never done retainers.
No. So say if I'm going to work with a team and it's going to be their season, let's say a 3-month, 4-month season. Well, I'll give them a discount on that. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm not chasing them for money.
Yeah.
And I'm working with them consistently. So it's a trust thing too. And it's kind of like a full-time job. It's not a full-time job, but it's like a full-time job. Mm-hmm. So I can afford, and it makes them happy, and it makes them come back to me again, maybe for the following season. So what I'll do is I'll do a retainer base. So let's just go for 4 months. But the easiest thing that I've noticed, what I've done in my business, is I bill them day one. They pay the first month of that retainer the day we start. That way I'm already paid for that first month then I go and work. Then they pay me day one of the second month. Or they can pay one lump sum for the whole season right away, and I'll give them even a bigger discount if they want. But that's all for convenience. And like you've said before, my time is valuable. Chasing people for money is a waste of my time. So if we've agreed on something and you pay right away, first of all, the second they pay, they're invested. If you need graphics, if you need logos, if you need stuff from their end, they'll give it to you. If you're billing them when the project's done, you're stuck waiting for them constantly, I find. But when they put some skin in the game, as I call it, it definitely helps out. Now, structuring a retainer deal, not always easy. Because I have expectations, they have expectations. So that first meeting or second meeting, I try and get all those expectations out of the way. Like, okay, we're going to use Dropbox to transfer files. Okay, after a game, you can expect highlights so many hours after. You have to, and you have to make sure that you're doing your end of the bargain, because that's the way you build trust with them too. And if you're doing it for a sports team, they have certain requirements. They need clips of goals or touchdowns or home runs for their social media. And depending, you could be building out all their social media. You could just be filming it and providing highlights. There's tons of different ideas you can do it. So that's where it's tricky with the retainer, is you got to figure out how much work am I putting into this? Now, obviously, as a freelancer, we make a little bit more money for one and done deals. Mm-hmm. But the reason why I'd say you take a bit of a discount on a retainer deal is because it's more like a full-time job. It's steady income. And that's why people
guarantees you money throughout the year or the season.
Exactly. And that's the difference, right? When you're at a full-time job, you get a salary, X amount of salary for the year. Well, freelancers don't work like that. They'll charge a company a lot of money for one video or something like that, but you might never ever work with them again. So that's the reason why they're not paying insurance. They're not paying your 401k or your RSPs or any of that stuff, right? So we have to do that on our own. That's why freelancing is a little bit more pricey. But the retainer deal, I find, really helps with companies, and it builds for a good relationship. Now, I've done it and I've renewed with companies. And then sometimes, since only retainer deal, guess what? You might not want to work with them either at the end of that retainer. And then it gives you a good out. You did your contract, everything went good. And then next season, guess what? They were a pain in the ass. Well, you're busy.
Yeah, definitely have a team right now that I don't want to work with again.
But it happens, right? So it's a way to protect yourself too. And, you know, that one season you decided to take one on the chin and you took a little less, but you had consistent income. And that's a nice feeling, knowing that, because as a freelancer, not knowing where your next paycheck is coming from is tough, especially if you leave a full-time job and all of a sudden you're doing it on your own. So that retainer deal is good for that.
You got a mortgage and you got a kid and all that stuff.
Exactly. But you could still chase it. Having that retainer deal still allows you to chase other clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
So it's kind of nice. You know, okay, I got 3K coming in this month, no matter what. Okay, I'm going to pitch this baseball team too to see if they need a couple of games filmed.
Mm-hmm. No, that's true. Yeah. Should we talk numbers?
Numbers? What do you want to talk numbers?
It's hard to talk, like, because obviously, you know, there's people, different cities, different countries, the prices change a lot. But
so I'll go like this. We'll use ballpark, okay? Because I don't know what people are charging, and I know what I'm charging. I don't even know what you're charging. What I suggest is
you're my competition. So, yeah, I'm not saying anything.
No, exactly. We're in competition, so that's why we run a podcast to keep each other. At least we know where each other is for the next hour.
Exactly.
No, the way I run it is this: I have a full day rate. My half day is not half of my full day rate.
Mine either. My
half day is a little bit more than my full, like say half plus an extra, say $150 or whatever. Mm-hmm. Than my half day rate. Does that make sense? Take my half day rate, divided by 2, add 150.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's like that is because even though it's a half day, let's be honest, I'm probably not filming something after that.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going from there to another job. It's not.
Yeah, it's tough. There are days where yes, you can, but you got to maximize that. You're still driving, and the thing that eats up a lot too at these costs is they don't realize is pre-production. So I try and include that too and show them like, hey, we already had 2 meetings in this. Like I'll try and keep it to 2 meetings. Like one's the introduction meeting. And then I always ask for a meeting before the event. So we know what everyone's looking for. We know what everyone's expecting. But that's still another hour of my time, an hour and a half of my time that I'm technically not getting paid for, because people don't, when you're a freelancer, don't want to pay you for meetings unless it's a consulting fee. So you have to add that into your half day, full day also.
Yeah. And the other reason why you don't want the half day to be so much lower than the full day is that you want, because like you said, half day, first of all, you're probably going to go over a bit sometimes. It's not like you're going to stop if there's like 5 minutes. So all that to say that, like, you want them to think, oh, for an extra, 200 or whatever, might as well get the full day. And that way it's less of a hassle and everything. So if the prices are sort of close, that can come up, where if there's a big difference, they're going to stick to the half day and sort of stick to that. So it's like a marketing strategy as well.
That's it. That's because we're marketing geniuses too. We're not just
exactly. That's why they
But
pay me the big bucks.
what I do like to do though, honestly, now is get away from even that half day, full day. Half day, full day is great if I'm just going to go film an event, right? So say someone calls me and says, "Hey Lance, I got 2 baseball games to film back to back. Can you come?" Well, I'll charge them a full day rate and I'll go do it. But if it's a project where it's like, "Hey, can you film this weekend tournaments and then edit us highlights and stuff?" I'll bill for the project. And that's up to me to figure out how much of my time it's going to take me. And that's a lot easier and cleaner. And I'll tell them, listen, the project's going to be, let's say $3,000. Let's just, since you wanted some numbers, right? But I will ask for half of that.
$3,000.
That's it. I will ask for half of that before I show up shooting.
That's smart.
And then I'll do the other half after, no problem. Ideally, I would like it all up in front. But listen, you have to build trust with people, and not everyone has that money on hand, but half up front, because it will save your ass later on. Because there's so many times when I was younger, and I'm sure it's happened to you, E, you work your ass off and you do a great job on this project and you send it off, and then you wait. And you wait, and you wait, and you wait. And sometimes you need that money.
I'm still waiting right now, by the way.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. I know what client you're talking about. So that E, you should have asked me for advice. I would have said half up front.
Yeah, no, that's true. And it's funny because and it's often the case in sports because there's a lot of different suppliers and things like that. And they're big, lots of money involved. So the little guy you only owed like $1,000 or a few hundred, it's sort of, you're at the back of the bottom of the pile of invoices, and they'll use the excuse to we need to get paid to then pay you and things like that. And then it just takes forever, and you got to do these awkward back and forth emails and calls with the person who hired you and things like that. And the funny thing is, it's like dealing with sports clubs that are local, that I know, that I've met, we know each other, is harder to get paid not every time, but a lot of the times it's harder to get paid by these people than it is to get paid by some random Chinese company that's sponsoring one of my YouTube videos. They'll transfer the money straight away. Where locally, and when I say locally, it happened to me everywhere, whether it's Canada, US, Australia, it's always more complicated. Not always. I'm exaggerating because I have I got PTSD at the moment, but it's funny how random people I've never met are easier to get money out of than people I actually know. So yeah, getting paid up front is a great idea, even if you do know people. That's the point.
Well, honestly, the best way to show somebody you respect their work is to pay them on time.
Yeah.
And that not be an issue. And listen, it's not, like you said, it's not like it's done on purpose. Sometimes things come up, things fall through the crack. But at the end of the day, it sucks, but you're going to have to send that email and say, "Hey, I'm missing my payment still," or "I was just wondering, did you receive my invoice?"
Yeah.
So if you, from day one, you say, "No problem, half up front, half after." That's if you're charging for the full project. If you're on an hourly rate, then obviously you got to do the event. You got to wait the 2 weeks, or a month, whatever, to get paid. And also on your bills, when you do bill, write payment in 30 days or payment in so. And then if they're late, then you can go back to them and say, "Listen, it's on the bill." But payment for me, definitely asking it up front or half up front has definitely made my life a lot easier. And listen, I've had issues with payment, and when I look back at it, it's usually my fault because I wasn't clear in the beginning. It's silly, but we're Canadian. I work with sometimes Americans, and I wasn't clear one time with saying when I work with US people, I bill them in US. When I work with Canadians, I bill them in Canadian. And this American company assumed since I'm in Canada that my bill was Canadian and they paid me Canadian. for something that I thought was getting American. And if you know, as a Canadian, that's 30% exchange rate. So that makes a big difference on your bill. But I wasn't clear. So when I looked back at the emails, I looked at that stuff, we fixed it because they were really happy with the work. So it didn't become an issue. They paid me the difference. So I was very, very fortunate in that, that place. But always be clear. And sometimes, you know what, you're just happy you got the gig. So you might definitely look it. So always reiterate in an email what you're sending, when you're sending the bills, all that stuff. So it's all written. And then you guys can always go back to it later on.
As far as like charging, like in terms, like I said, in terms of prices, like there's no specific price because the area where you live, like it's going to have a huge impact, and also the level. But like for me, it's more about look around you, like professionals online. You can find a lot of photographers and videographers have websites with their pricing. So you can sort of see what they're charging at their level, and then sort of position yourself in comparison to them. Like, okay, they're obviously more experienced than me, or they're at my level. So if they're at your level, then there you go, charge sort of roughly the same. Or if you think that they're way better, then charge a bit less and sort of build around that. And also the value of your equipment. Like if they're filming with an A7S III or something like that, and you're filming with, I don't know, like a Canon M50 or, you know, a Sony ZV-10, then obviously you can't charge the same amount of money, because even if you're the greatest videographer in the world, their footage is probably going to look a lot better. So the client's going to be disappointed. But at the same time, yeah, it's just about valuing what you have and what you bring to the table. But there's nothing wrong with every year you're getting better. Every year you can send your clients an email saying, you know, new year, new rates, basically. So now I'm, you know, 10% more, whatever the case may be. And you sort of grow that way. And if they really like your work, they'll keep hiring you. Like there's nothing wrong with asking. I wouldn't ask for more money in the middle of a project, but saying from now on, next time you hire me, by the way, these are my new rates. Usually people are okay with it unless you're going crazy. But yeah. And I think also like the thing we haven't talked about yet, and I don't know if we plan to talk about it. I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but a lot of people, because I'm thinking like a lot of people who watch or listen to this, a thing that's popular that I've never done personally, you might have done it through hockey, is working for multiple players, or probably ultimately multiple parents at one game. So like they'll go to a football game, for example, and they'll film the entire thing, but then they'll do like a reel for this kid, that kid, and getting paid individually. So they're not getting paid a lot of money by these people, but because there's 3 or 4 of them, then together it's worth it. Like, have you done that before?
So I have it a long time ago. Well, a long time ago, a couple years ago. So what I do is I charge them for the edit. Filming, I can film all the kids at the same game. Okay, if you're doing one game, but most likely you're going to have to do more than one game if you're doing multiple people, because in sports it's very unpredictable, right? Kid might have a good game, kid might have a bad game. So I would at least put 2 games in there, and you charge them on the edit. So it's a flat rate for the game, divide it by the 4 of them, say, and then you charge them per the edit, and you break up the bill. You will actually make probably more money that way too, because your game rate, let's just say you charge $200 to film the game. I'm talking minor football. Okay. I'm not talking pro. I'm charging $200. So right away, $400 between 4 people divided by 4 people, they're paying each $100 for you to go and film that game. And then your edit. So if your edits, if you're a fast editor and you're just editing some reels, maybe you do each one at them 2 for another $100 each. So they're paying $200. Now you filmed 2 of their kids' games, and you have a highlight, 1 or 2 highlight videos of them. Boom, for $400. So it's not so bad, but you made $1,600 in the same amount of time.
Sure.
4 times 4.
4 times 4, 4 times 100.
No,
Oh no,
400
plus
each.
the yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Yeah.
We already went over this last episode. My math is better than yours, Z.
No, I thought you said 200 each. I'm confused. Maybe I'm too
Oh, yeah, I
tired.
think you're right. Yeah, okay. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Okay. We'll go
It's
back on replay.
$800.
We'll see. 800, whatever. But that's
Whatever.
whatever. I just lost half my profit. That's the
Exactly.
idea. Sorry, I was thinking 400 each.
Yeah.
That's the way I would work that.
Yeah, but still $800 for if you're doing Pee Wee football or whatever, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, as you're doing this and you're billing people, the worst thing that's going to happen, it's going to take you more time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you mess up on your quote, then you're just going to be mad at yourself. And it's happened to me. I've quoted a project and I want to do this nice After Effects piece and have fire and all this stuff. And I decided that, and it added about 3-4 more hours to my project. So I just made less an hour. But I still made the same amount of money that I did quote for the project. So I chose to bring it up a level. But that's something that you're going to learn with experience, and you get better at it too. Like if you were going to go and film a hockey game, say you film the whole hockey game, the hockey game, you're there for 5 hours, let's just say, or 4 hours. And then you got to do 3 reels after and 5 highlights. Well, you're going to be able to do that in 3 hours. So you already know that's an 8-hour day. That's a 1 day. Now you can give them your day rate or you can charge them the project, but you're experienced enough where you know that you're fast enough to be able to edit that in those 3 hours. And you know that the game is 5 hours by the time you pack your bag, drive to the arena, set up, film the whole game, transfer your footage, repack it back up, drive back home, right? And that only comes with experience. You're not going to know that the first time or second time you go and you film a game. And so that helps you with your quotes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But the important part is, like we said earlier, is just to learn from that experience and then readjust your prices accordingly next time. Because now you have a better idea of how long of a day it is or how much editing's involved and all that stuff.
Yeah. And there is one thing that we should mention about pro sports. Now, pro sports, they do dictate the price more. Your experience helps on your pay scale. But when I go to the Canadians and I film a game, they supply me the equipment. I'm the camera operator, or I'm their video editor using their computer, their hard drives, their software. So it's a lot different when you work for clubs. So you have to take that into, because people are like, oh, you have this full-time job or you have freelance. Now that's something where our viewers will have to decide where they want to go. And obviously they're different. Freelance is a lot different than working with some full-time. Because freelance, you can work for a company one and done, or you can go to a team and I don't know, maybe you decide you don't like baseball anymore and you're going to go focus on football. But when you're with a hockey team or a full-time pro sports team, you got emails, you have expectations, you have community videos you have to do. It's not just all sports all the time. There's so many things that aren't sports that you're filming. Now you're paid every day. Every day you have a project. You're not searching for projects. Every day they come to you with a project and they pay you to do that project. When you're freelance, you have to search out those projects.
Oh, no, of course. But then again, yeah, the job is, they're harder to get sometimes, because if you're starting your career and you want to work for an NBA team or an NHL team or whatever, and then there's you're sending CVs or you're looking at what's available on job sites and there's nothing, then freelance is a good plan B, because it's a good way to sort of get to work, start getting a bit of money coming in, and also getting better at your craft, getting your improving your portfolio. And while you're doing that, if freelancing is not necessarily something that you see yourself doing long term, then you're still looking for that job opportunity at a pro level somewhere. And you know, the longer it goes, the better you're getting. So the better your resume is looking as well. Your portfolio is looking. And then when that opportunity comes along, then you apply and maybe then you get the job. And so, yeah, one can lead to the other, or sometimes it's the opposite as well. Like you've been working for a club for 5 years, and let's be honest, like working for a sports team is a 1 year loop. Like it's always the same thing year after year. Like obviously the videos are going to be a bit different, but it's, you know, exactly what March is going to be like, what April is going to be like, you know, it's always the same thing. So you might get tired of that after a while, and you probably gain enough experience, met enough people in the sports industry or specifically in your sport that you might be able to make that transition to freelance and already have a network in place that will allow you to work enough to have like the equivalent of a full-time income. So, you know, just because you go one direction doesn't stop you from changing or going another way at some point. Or even sometimes when you're working full time, it's more of a seasonal thing. So a lot of different clubs, especially the ones that are sort of lower budget, they'll hire you for a 5 month or 6 month period, and then during the summer or the winter, depending on the sport, then you can freelance and just get to do other things. But then after that, you just go back to your regular job. So it's there's pros and cons, like, because I was going to say it's best of both worlds where you can do both. And then at least you've got like a secure job that's going to get you going through most of the year. And then you can go have fun and experiment and do other things, for a few months. But, that's cool when you're young, but when you're older and you're trying to get a loan, it's a different story. So yeah.
The more you grow, the more your value will increase. And the more your value increases, the more you can charge for projects. But there is one piece of advice I'll give you. Don't always look at the money. Sometimes you have to have fun. And sometimes you got to try a project, or even if a client doesn't have the funds to pay you what you think you should be paid, don't pass up on the opportunity if you think you're going to experience something different from it and have fun. Because at the end of the day, we make videos. Videos are entertainment. They're supposed to be fun. And if I'm not having fun making videos and I'm just focused on money, my videos won't be that great. And I get it. It's a business. I get it. I'm doing this to, you know, support my family and make a living. But I have to enjoy what I'm doing. At least that's my perspective. I have to enjoy what I'm doing. And I will, you know, occasionally help out a friend or you know what, help out my community and film something at a lower rate just because I want to be there and I want to see that.
Oh yeah. And even, like, to be honest, like most of because these days, even like some of the professional stuff, smaller, lower level, but still professional, like, because it's a game, it often sort of goes into the half day rate sort of thing. But then there's so much social media to do these days that you're there for so long that, like, I'm definitely losing money in a way, but at the same time, I'd rather do that than other projects. Like, sometimes just it's more valuable, and especially for me from a YouTube's perspective, it's cool to have access to more like professional things because it's just more fun to film. It's more interesting for my channel, but and it gives me access to like cooler content, and it's well lit as well, which is fun.
But it's just like, what's your lighting like? And then I'll come,
exactly. Okay? I'll give you a discount if you got proper lighting.
Okay, but I've had the opposite problem where I've been turned down by clients because I'm too experienced. And they're worried about my rate. Before I even give them what I'm going to charge them, they're always like, "Oh, we found this guy who's going to do it for $100 and we really like his work." And you look at it and you're like, "This is bad. This is really bad. Let me talk to the guy, and I'll help out the guy then if you want." But experience does scare people too. And it's a weird world, right? Because you think you always want the best person for the job and the most qualified, and that's not always the case. So
yeah, well, like I've been in that situation many times in the past where there's someone who's willing to do it for super cheap. They really want to work with you because they really like your work, but then this guy's so much cheaper. And I always, like, my answer is always the same, where like I'm not gonna charge you as much as he does or she does, because they're charging that for a reason. They're not as experimented. Their camera's probably not as good. Like everything, it's not going to be as good. I promise you, it's not going to be as good. So if that's okay, like with you, because you don't really care that much and you'd rather spend $100 on something average than, let's say, 1,000 on something great, then that's fine. Like there's that's the whole reason why dollar stores exist. Like it's okay. But if you want quality, like you have to pay for it. And I'm not gonna just charge you less and do a bad job on purpose, because that job now I've done this, and it's going to go around. Like when I'm showing, that's how like I built my business in Australia. So just look at that club, and that club, whatever videos they've got on screen, I've done it. If you like what and that's how I would get clients. Like I wouldn't even have to say like, look at that club. People will look at their videos and go like, wow, this is great. This is so much different than what who's doing your videos? And that's how like I was getting jobs with other clubs. So if I'm starting to if I'm doing a bad job because people are not paying me well, this conversation never happens. And, going back to like, I don't know if I should say last week, but because I don't know what our posting habits are very, up and down. But my point is the guy, the Boston Celtics guy, this guy could have a job anywhere he wants now, because everybody's looking at these videos and he's such a trendsetter and he's doing all these great concepts that no one's ever seen before. Like he must be getting like job offers, and even if he's not, he could just go to any team and say he's available, and for sure they'll try to see if there's a way to get him on board. So it's all about, proving your value, and then everything sort of takes care of itself in terms of marketing, is at least. And then once people want what you have, they'll find a way to pay for it. And if they really can't because they just don't have the budget, then they're not the right clients for you. Stop talking to low income clubs and don't, enough with the imposter syndrome, and start talking to clubs who do have a bit of money, and start having those conversations and trying to network with those people. And if you can't work with the teams, then maybe it's the players. Like, go on Instagram and tag players in there and create connections like that way. And then once these guys get to higher levels, then they still, they've worked with you before, and you can start working, with the team that they're on now. Maybe like it's you got to build this. Like a network doesn't happen like this, but yeah, just keep believing in yourself and in your product. But at the core of it all, you have to produce something of quality then you can back up and be proud of, and that anyone can watch any of your videos, and if you have to justify and say, no, but like, and that one's not that great because I only had 3 days to do it and they weren't really paying me, so like you've already lost them. Like exactly. You have to make sure that you're always putting 100% in everything you do, because that way every time someone sees one of your videos and they're like, oh, this is cool, you can just, yeah, I've done that, and that's the end of that conversation.
And you don't have to say yes to everything. You can say no. And when you're starting off, it's probably the hardest lesson you're going to learn is to say no. But the first time you say no and you realize you just saved yourself a headache, you will be happy and something better will come along.
Yeah. Especially once you realize that you're good enough to charge, let's say, $1,000. And you actually realize that people are willing to pay that for your services, then you're going to feel like, wow, it's so much more fun and everything to do one contract at $1,000 than 5 at 200. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. And you're just going to get, the more contracts you get and the more times you do get paying clients, you're going to grow. Your value will go up. Because I guarantee you, E, or even me, if we go back a couple years and we look at our videos compared to now, we are constantly improving. Constantly. And you don't even realize you're improving. It's just your habits. You're more meticulous. You're more on top of everything. Your colors are better. This is better. You're editing to the beat differently. You're trying different things. It's all going to come with time. And the more time you put into this, the more value you can get, the easier it will be to get those higher contracts, or just be comfortable in what you're charging people. Because that's the hardest conversation is, you pitch all these ideas and then they say, how much? And then sometimes you tell people how much and you never hear from them again. And other people you tell them how much and they're like, yes, that is perfect. Mm-hmm. And then you worry, shit, did I undercharge them? Because they said yes too fast, but don't worry about it. As long as you're comfortable with it, don't worry about it. Okay. Because you will second guess yourself. You will. But the idea is just stay consistent and you will find your value, and you'll find your value in your market. So half day rate, full day rate. You can project, or you can even go retainer based. Those are the easiest ways and are probably the only ways for our industry to survive, right?
True.
All right.
On that note,
so
I'm not getting paid for this.
That's it. How much you charge a day?
You'll have to hire me to find out.
So somebody please
I would never charge you. You know that.
I know. Actually, I filmed for E not that long ago. And honestly, I have no problem helping people out. So even you, like, you know what? Because I've helped out friends in the past, and then other people have seen my work from that, and I got contracts just by helping people out. Now, I'm not giving up weeks and weeks of my time, but I will help people out. That's not a problem. And it's part of the industry too, right? Because it's like a camaraderie.
Yeah, exactly.
Because not everybody does what we do, guys. Only a select few.
Exactly.
So is that it for today? That's it for today, I guess. Is there anything we left out money-wise, E, you think? E's going to show you guys how to do your taxes on your next, podcast. That's a whole other thing.
True.
But honestly, when you're charging and you're coming up with your bill, think of travel, think of gear, think of your insurance, think of stuff like that, and you'll easily be able to put together your price.
And if you're billing for a project, another last minute tip is to think of, allow a few hours at least for changes. Because if you're building for a whole project that involves editing, there's probably going to be a few back and forth with changes and stuff. So, and first of all, it's a good idea to, again, with communication, like from the start, say there's 2 rounds of changes or something like that. So don't come to me, can you change this? And then I send you the revised version. Oh, and then that. And like that goes on forever. Just wastes your time. You're losing money. Just goes on for way too long. So if you said there's 2 rounds of changes, first of all, they're going to watch the whole thing, have a conversation, and then come back to you with like 10 changes in one go instead of all that back and forth. And then after that, if there is more changes after that second round, then you can you would have said after 2 rounds, if you still want to change, then there's like $100, fee or something like that. So that way you don't feel like every time they get back to you, you're like again, and then it becomes this awkward sort of situation where you feel you've put too many hours on this already, but you already agreed on the price. So yeah, you got to be clear about that, those, rounds of changes, and bill accordingly.
Yeah, add that into your contract. Every revision after number 2 is $150, just for instance, and they will respect that. And if they don't respect it, guess what? Cha-ching. You'll you know what? I'll change that. I'll change this. I'll change that. Yeah. No problem. But yeah, you also don't want projects going on forever. But like we said, the clearer you are, the easier this will be.
Exactly.
All right, E. So there's going to be one revision in this podcast that we're going to do is where I messed up the math. Okay, so that's my one change. Okay, so we're going to go back and re-record that session, that part. Okay.
Yeah. If we were anywhere near famous, I think the face that I made when I was making the math was like would probably become a meme or something. Like
That's it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's it for this episode of Game Day Glare. Till next week, guys. Take care.
So yeah.